You see, in every technological revolution, there are three important steps, three distinct periods every investor needs to be aware of. If you get in too early, you're wasting your time. You get in late, you lose money. This second phase, the takeoff phase, is where you need to pay close attention. It's simple. In technology, you see, there's a very predictable phenomenon that always occurs. It's called the adoption curve. Now, it looks like this. There are three phases, and they happen in literally every new invention. At the start is innovation. That's when a technology is new. The only people who know about it are the techies involved and maybe a few early stage investors. At the end is saturation. This is when everybody knows about it and all the big gains are off the table. But in the middle, this is where all the action is. You want to be right here at the precise moment when a new technology starts getting major adoption before the takeoff. And that's exactly where we are today with Genesis. As I'll show you in a minute, mass adoption is starting to take place with Genesis. First, let me explain the unstoppable force behind it. Genesis, you see, is the name I give to blockchain technology. Because in 100 years from now, when we look back on the waves of innovation that launched us to new levels of human advancement, we'll see blockchain at the beginning, at the genesis. Now, chances are you've heard of blockchain before. But if you're like most people, you're not sure what it is, why it matters, or why some people believe it will create more millionaires than any other technology before. It's actually quite simple. You see, the best way to show you how blockchain works is to take you on the road with me to the financial ground zero where all the action is taking place, in Manhattan. So here we are at the site of Trump Tower. As you know, the president made the bulk of his fortune in real estate. And while Trump Tower is a symbol of his towering wealth, it also illustrates an important concept, and that is highest and best use. I'm going to repeat that. Highest and best use. You see, centuries ago, this was just an empty piece of land. Back in 1845, you could have bought a lot across the street for a mere $160. 40 years later, William Astor, the millionaire behind the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, had 5 private townhomes built. So Astor transformed the land for higher and better use. But was it best use? Not quite. Let's fast forward to 1929. That's when Stewart and Company bought the land from Astor. They ran a department store, so they got rid of the townhomes and put up a 12-story building instead. Bonwit Teller, another retailer, eventually took over, and things stayed the same for the next 50 years, until President Trump bought the property in 1979 for $15 million. Now, what did the future president do? Did he keep the 12 stories? Of course not. The president, you see, replaced it with a fresh 58-story tower that houses Gucci and Tiffany on the first floor, plus 13 floors of corporate offices and $260 million condos, attracting tenants like Johnny Carson, Liberace, and Michael Jackson. So from a dirt lot to a handful of townhomes to this, it's now worth an estimated $470 million, almost 300 million% more than back in 1845. Highest and best use. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because it's a simple way to illustrate why the blockchain will be so transformative. You see, I'm sure you'll agree it would be silly to write off Trump Tower as nothing more than an empty lot or a few fancy townhomes. Just as it would have been crazy to take a look at America Online back in 1992 and say, yep, that's the highest and best use of the internet. Doing so would have caused you to miss the bigger picture, not to mention a fortune. That's why you should see Bitcoin as merely the first use of blockchain, the equivalent of those 5 townhomes back in the 1800s. Not its highest use, not by a long shot, and I'll prove it. If you add up the value of all the Bitcoin in the world today, every last one, it would only come to about $133 billion. Yet the World Economic Forum has projected the blockchain will store 10% of the world's GDP by 2027. That's $8.6 trillion. In other words, Bitcoin's 133 billion represents less than 2% of the blockchain's total potential value. And by capturing just a small sliver of this explosive growth, it could be the equivalent of buying Microsoft in 1986, Amazon in 1997, or Apple back in 2003 when I went to. That's why I've devoted the last 4 years of my life to learning more about blockchain than anyone else. Highest and best use. Bitcoin was the first use. Now we're moving on to where the real money with blockchain is going to be made. And for those who take a position in the right blockchain investments, it will be like adding rocket fuel to their portfolio. The equivalent of going from a $160 empty lot to this 58-story tower worth hundreds of millions. Okay, so what is blockchain's highest and best use? Well, here's the thing. At its core, blockchain is really just a very secure way to store information. It's the safest way to store information that has ever been devised because you can't hack the system. So blockchain's potential uses are wide and varied. I can't possibly go into all of them in detail, but to give you a taste, blockchain is being used today to help modernize the $217 trillion real estate industry, to combat the $1.7 trillion in counterfeit goods sold each year, to improve the electoral voting system, making illegal votes a thing of the past, to help greatly reduce healthcare costs, and also to secure the food supply. Each year, 400,000 people die needlessly because of food contamination. And American businesses lose $55 billion because of it. In fact, when an E. coli outbreak at Chipotle left 55 customers ill, Chipotle's stock fell 47%, causing investors to lose more than $10 billion. As you can see, blockchain touches and will impact practically all aspects of our lives. Which leads me back to New York. You see, while I was in Manhattan, I discovered something major going on right now. And that is this. The finance industry is all over blockchain. We talked about the adoption curve earlier. Well, we're right at the takeoff point. Mass adoption has started. Have you ever heard of the DTCC, the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation? That's the major organization that clears more than $54 trillion in stock, mutual fund, and other financial trades each year. Well, get this. The DTCC just announced they're moving $10 trillion onto the blockchain. Blythe Masters, a former executive at JP Morgan, started her own $100 million blockchain startup. PNC Financial, America's 6th largest bank, is now using blockchain to let clients send money across borders instantly. Santander, Spain's largest bank, recently issued a $20 million bond. The transaction was made completely on the blockchain. Listen, that's huge. The total market for bonds is $100 trillion. That's $70 trillion more than all the stocks that trade in America. If blockchain captures even just a tiny fraction of that market, early investors could clean up, 10x their money overnight. That's why I think there's a very real chance early investors could make up to $1.6 million. Now, earlier I mentioned MasterCard. Well, they're working with Amazon and Accenture on a new blockchain project that could soon render our current debit and credit cards useless. Look, even though most of us received cards with small crypto chips on them a few years back, I'm talking about cards like these. Fraud and identity theft, they're still rampant. In fact, more than $16 billion is lost each year to fraud. That's to say nothing of the hassle, lost time, and money 500,000 Americans, 500,000 Americans have to endure each year because of identity theft. But by integrating blockchain, banks and credit card companies can put an end to this. Why? Well, as I mentioned earlier, blockchain is really just a very secure way to store information. But because thousands and sometimes millions of different computers store this information, and these records must match up, it's the safest way to store information ever created. As IBM CEO said, what the internet was for communications, blockchain will do for trusted transactions. Santa Ana, in fact, estimates it will save $20 billion each year, thanks to blockchain. And one consultancy firm found that consumers will save up to $16 billion, thanks to lower fees. Now, as a consumer, that means once you receive your new blockchain-secured credit card, you'll be much safer, and you'll likely save a few bucks on fees. But where you can really cash in is as an investor. You see, when a big credit card rollout occurs and millions of new cards are shipped out, a few select companies reap enormous rewards. These are the companies that provide the underlying technology. A few years ago, for example, when the first crypto chip cards were being released, Verimatrix, a firm that provides key security for the chips, returned 128%. NXP Semiconductors rose more than 695%. And HNA Technology, which sold crypto chips in the Asian market, skyrocketed 1,641%. A $5,000 stake in each of these companies would have netted you $142,000. Now, while an official announcement hasn't come out yet by the major credit card companies, there's a reason MasterCard has already been granted 27 blockchain patents and has applied for 53 more. You see, they lost an estimated $953 million to fraud last year. And there's another important reason for these companies to act quickly. You see, data security doesn't just affect consumers. One recent study found the average company that suffered a data breach lost $150 million in stock value. And financial firms were affected the most. So in my view, a new card rollout is inevitable. It could be weeks away. But here's the thing. Most people won't think twice when they get their new state-of-the-art card. It might look more or less the same. So what's the big deal? However, for those in the know, the smart investors who grab a small stake in the companies that will provide the underlying blockchain technology of the future, they will reap enormous profits. And I'll share with you a very exciting development, an opportunity I found on this in just 1 second. If you take away one thing from today's presentation, let it be this. Even if you get everything else wrong, by getting just one big investment trend right, you can become a millionaire many times over and be set up for life. I'm proud to say I've identified 2 of these big investments. Back in April 2016, for example, I recommended Bitcoin when it was trading a hair north of $400. People laughed and told me crypto was worth nothing. But I did my research, and we know what happened next. Bitcoin shot up past $1,000, $5,000, reaching $19,000. Another crypto I spotted soared 11,318%, and I recommended my readers take profits just 3 days before the big crash of 2018. Another small crypto I recommended went ballistic, shooting up over 150,000%. Several of my readers became millionaires, including BJ, who I mentioned earlier. Also, a trucker, as well as one struggling farmer who was able to turn a few $1,000s into $2.5 million. That's the power of investing in the decade's top investment. Back in 2003, a similar thing occurred. I made an emphatic plea to my clients: buy Apple. You see, at the time, Apple was selling for dirt cheap, under $2. Even Steve Jobs was selling, but I knew the iPod was going to be revolutionary. Those who listened to me made out like bandits as Apple went on to reach over $250 a share. It all comes down to this: making just one right investment at the right time can set you up for life. Life's just too short to spend it struggling. Shouldn't we spend more of our time traveling, learning, being with loved ones and friends, and just plain having fun? I truly think so. And we are at the start of a brand new decade. I've shown you the proof, stats, and all the industries getting involved in blockchain. And how you're timing today is absolutely perfect. Mass adoption is taking place right now. So what will you do? Earlier I mentioned Buffett. You could mimic his moves. I mean, he's one heck of an investor. But here's the thing. While Buffett's top holdings, firms like Apple, Amazon, JP Morgan, and MasterCard, are piling millions into blockchain tech, there's just no way these stocks are going to shoot up 10 times from here. They're just too darn big. I mean, it took Apple 4 decades to make it to the $1 trillion mark. Do you think they're going to jump to $10 trillion anytime soon? I don't think so. You see, there's a reason I've been able to beat the gains of legends like Buffett and Carl Icahn. Those guys manage billions, and they have to invest in very large companies. I want you to pay very special attention to what I'm about to say next. Here is the key. To maximize your profits, you need to grab a stake in the handful of small companies that are enabling the big firms to shift onto the blockchain. These firms are rarely, if ever, on CNBC. Why? They're simply not the big, sexy tech conglomerates the mainstream likes to talk about. You know, companies like Facebook and Google. That's why I just put the finishing touches on 2 crucial reports I believe will help you maximize your profits during the blockchain revolution, and also help you do it as quickly as possible. First, there are 3 blockchain stocks I believe you absolutely should own right now. They stand head and shoulder above the crowd, and even better, you can buy them straight from an ordinary brokerage account. I've given a full, detailed account of each of these 3 stocks in a new special report I just put together. It's called The Investment of the Decade, 3 must-own stocks that will power blockchain's 295,000% revolution. What's the first stock? Well, let me ask you a question. When you think of ETFs, options, and futures, what do these assets all have in common? The answer? Each of these trades on a unique exchange. Well, soon we're going to see a brand new blockchain exchange hit the markets, and just one company has positioned itself as the sole gatekeeper. You see, it's the only company cleared by the SEC to trade blockchain investments. That means as blockchain goes mainstream and more investors rush in, and new financial blockchain products are introduced, it's this company that will get a cut on every transaction. It's a sure path to profits. For example, here's what happened to other exchanges when they went live. NASDAQ tripled in 4 years. The Chicago Board Options Exchange shot up 599% over 7 years. And the Chicago Mercantile Exchange went up 1,472% in only 5 years. $5,000 in each of these would have grown to $128,550. That is the explosive potential at stake here. And our first blockchain stock has positioned itself in the very same way. It's got a huge competitive advantage, a moat, as Buffett would put it. Insiders love it. They own 93% of the company. Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, they've all scooped up a ton of shares. But today, you can still buy cheap shares while it's flying under the radar. I recommend you take a position in the next 3 to 5 days if possible. Next, stock number 2. As I mentioned earlier, I believe our current debit and credit cards will soon disappear. They'll be replaced by better, much safer, blockchain-backed cards. You see, when first generation chip cards came out a few years back and millions were sent out, those savvy enough to invest in the companies providing the underlying technology, they reaped a fortune. Well, here's the thing. One payment company right now has already implemented blockchain into its system. It's not Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, or PayPal either. And already this company's revenue has skyrocketed 16-fold. That's 8 times faster than Visa and 6 times better than PayPal. And the number of payments processed is blowing up. But it's not done yet. In fact, I predict blockchain stock number 2 will become the next Visa, meaning it could still climb 16 times higher from here, turning every $5,000 into $80,000. That's enough to buy a fully loaded Ford F-350 Super Duty or almost any car of your choice. Already, the company has attracted Goldman Sachs' former CFO to its board of directors, as well as former Secretary of the Treasury, Larry Summers. And the smart money is now moving in. Vanguard, BlackRock, and Morgan Stanley have already stockpiled 51 million shares between them. Goldman Sachs was an early investor participating in a $150 million round of funding. And billionaire hedge fund managers Andreas Halverson and Stephen Mandel have taken positions. So many of the smartest investors in the world are going all in. Last, stock number 3. As everyone knows, the internet made tons of people crazy rich. But here's the thing. When most people think about the big internet winners, they think of the Amazons, Googles, and Facebooks. But for every Amazon, there's a secret behind-the-scene company like Cisco that actually returned a lot more. You see, back in the 1990s, Cisco was the decade's 5th best stock and returned a whopping 67,491%. That was actually 15 times better than Amazon. Qualcomm, another behind-the-scenes company, also outperformed Amazon, handing investors a healthy 10,499%. Now, did most people invest in Cisco and Qualcomm? Of course not. The reason is simple. Because companies like these get far less attention. It almost seems like there's a conspiracy. But the truth is, the boring companies like Cisco and Qualcomm get ignored. And that's too bad. Because behind the scenes, these companies provided the hardware that was needed to power the internet's big boom. And savvy investors reaped a fortune. Now it's set to happen again. One company has brilliantly positioned itself to scoop up billions in revenue by supplying the hardware needed to power the blockchain boom. Earlier, I mentioned car companies were making a big $30 billion move to the blockchain. Well, Honda has already started working with this company. And again, the big institutions are lining up. JP Morgan, BlackRock, Vanguard. Fidelity, in fact, loves this stock so much, it's already scooped up 7.5% of all available shares. Now, you can buy it straight from your brokerage account too, and I recommend you do so soon. See, this stock has already started a big move, shooting up 57% in the last 6 months alone. But that's just the beginning. Conservatively, I expect it will triple, bare minimum, over the next 3 years. And it could do much better than that. Remember, the entire blockchain economy is expected to rise 295,000% over the coming years. So the profit potential here is huge. I've put this modern-day Cisco, along with my 2 other favorite blockchain stocks, in a new report called The Investment of the Decade. 3 must-own stocks that will power blockchain's 295,000% revolution. In a minute, I'll show you how you can get a free copy. But first, I want to tell you where we can see the most explosive returns of all. Look, I love speculative plays, and you should too, at least for part of your money. But you've got to do it right. I've just finished putting together a short report on the 3 best speculative blockchains out there today. Now, of course, these aren't quite as established as the 3 investments I showed you earlier. But that's good news. It means they're priced cheap. C-H-E-A-P, cheap. You can take a meaningful position for just a few $100s. In the past, I've personally turned $591 into $13,312. Another $1,000 into $1.6 million. This is almost like found money. I use some of these speculative profits as play money to buy a race car version Porsche, send loved ones to Europe for a luxurious 2-week vacation, and also to buy this great Rolex, which I'll pass down as a family heirloom. It's my strong opinion everyone should try to engineer a big windfall like this in their life. but it's not guesswork. Other speculations I've recommended have helped my readers bag monster gains of 1,894%, 11,004%, 14,269%, and even a rare 151,000%. Today, I believe I've pinpointed my next 3 big winning speculations in the blockchain space. Now, please understand, you do not need to bet the farm. If even just one pans out, it could be life-changing. Take John, one of my subscribers. He emailed me to say, Tika, you've helped me turn $250 into $250,000 in less than a year. I would have reached that level even sooner if I had followed your advice to the letter. And James, the farmer, made $2.5 million. Now, obviously, I can't promise you'll make $250,000, $1.6 million, or $2.5 million, because all investments carry risk. And you know as well as I do, past performance does not equate future success. What I can tell you, though, is this. All 3 of those companies are tiny. One, for example, has a market cap of just $6 million. That's 250 times smaller than Apple or Google, where they were when they first went public years ago. So naturally, the upside of that is so much higher. So with this kind of early stage investment, there's obviously risk. So here's the key. Start small. Even if it's just $1,000. Take your $1,000 and split it up evenly between the 3 speculations I've found. They're dirt cheap, all selling under $3. So these are the kind of penny blockchain plays, if you will, with the real potential to go up 100 times or more. I put all the details inside my new report called Blockchain Moonshots, 3 chances to turn $1,000 into 1.6 million. I want to send you this report as well as my report on the 3 best blockchain stocks for free. Now, why would I want to do that? I grew up poor. I bounced around different foster homes and at one point actually lived in an apartment over a garage with no heat. So I definitely know what it's like to be on the other side, constantly wishing for a better life. That's why when I was 16, I ventured out alone to America with only $150 in my pocket. What I found is that desperation breeds determination. Today, I'm in a much different position. In fact, people shake their heads when they hear that I recently turned down an offer to manage $100 million. But to me, it's very simple. You see, if I help some big shot turn $100 million into $200 million, nothing changes. I mean, maybe he buys a bigger yacht, a nicer jet. But if I help out the average person and showed him how to pick the decade's top investment, man, that's life-changing. It could mean an early retirement, a paid-off mortgage, beautiful memories and trips shared with loved ones. That's why I refused the $100 million. Look, it might sound corny, but I agree with what Winston Churchill said. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. I've already made a ton of money, and I've tried retiring before, twice. It just wasn't for me. I knew deep down I didn't want to manage money for rich people anymore. So 5 years ago, I found a unique solution. I joined up with a respected publisher in Florida to strike up a new type of partnership. The way it works is this. They let me do what I do best, which is travel extensively, meet with my contacts and network of insiders, and then I write about all the great investments I find. They take care of everything else. When I find a great investment, they send out my report to subscribers, handle customer support, rush out my alerts. So far, it's worked like a charm. Since we started our partnership, more than 575,000 people have read my work. That's enough to fill AT&T Stadium where the Dallas Cowboys play more than 7 times. And the feedback we've received has been nothing short of amazing.
That amount of money was life-changing security for us. And we're sitting in the security that Tika gave us. instead of a storage locker and a one-bedroom apartment. How can you ever say thank you to someone for literally changing your life that much? It's hard, and I'm sure it would be sappy, but boy, would it be heartfelt.
From that $10,000, it had gone up to $330,000, and we were just amazed. We gained a lot of money, and I feel a lot more secure about the fact that I'm going to be able to retire, that I'll be able to retire without a mortgage, and I'll be able to afford to, live the kind of lifestyle that I want after I retire. The other thing we're doing is tomorrow we're leaving on a family holiday. We're going to go to the UK, we're going to go to Scotland, England, and Wales, see some really good sights, have a nice family holiday.
I think he could retire if he wanted to, and because of who he is and how he cares about helping the average person build wealth, he's working really hard, and we're really benefiting from it.
I'm a first-time investor and can't tell you how sweet this ride has been. Your plays have grown my savings from $20,000 to $135,000 in just 3 months. Retirement was a huge worry, and I did not believe it would be possible. However, with gains like this, I'm confident it will. I can't thank you enough.
It's because of subscribers like BJ, Dave, and Michelle that I'm even more determined than ever to help my readers achieve freedom in their lives. That's why I've sent my 2 reports on the investment of the decade to all my subscribers. And today, I want to send this groundbreaking research to you too, especially if you weren't able to cash in on Microsoft in the 80s, Amazon in the 90s, Apple in the 2000s, Bitcoin 4 years ago. These were the best investments of the decade. This could be your second chance. Who knows when we'll see another opportunity like this again? So why not take advantage? Here's what I recommend. Try out my flagship investment letter, the Palm Beach letter. Once you do, I'll immediately rush you my new blockchain reports at no extra charge. That means you could literally have these 6 blockchain winners in your hands just 5 minutes from now, and so much more going forward. So how does the Palm Beach letter work? Well, for starters, it's not your typical investment publication like the Wall Street Journal. While I love the journal, there are just so many different and sometimes contradictory investment stories in there and a little guidance. It's very easy to get confused. That's why each month I hand select just one investment. It could be a stock, an income play, or some other little-known alternative I discovered while doing my boots-on-the-ground research. What I do is, in each issue, I'll explain in simple terms all the important things you should know about the investment, its potential, as well as how to buy it. If you've got 15 minutes a month, you have everything you need to prosper from the Palm Beach letter. And as soon as you accept a trial membership, not only will you get instant access to my 2 proprietary blockchain reports, but I'll also send you a special briefing I just put together. I call the Davos Manifesto. Now, you've likely heard of Davos before. That's the very high-level, secretive, invite-only meeting that takes place each year in Davos, Switzerland. In the past, President Trump, royals, and billionaires like George Soros have all attended. I wasn't interested in the past, but here's the thing. The World Economic Forum is actually putting together Davos. That's the same organization that expects blockchain to grow 295,762% by 2027. So this year, I'm going to go to Davos. I'll actually be there in just a couple of days. Now, I've been to conferences like this in the past, and they adhere to strict Chatham House rules. That means I can't reveal the names of the people I'll be meeting there. However, in my briefing, what I will do is share the big secret I'm going to tell these guys. It has to do with one small change you can make to boost your total portfolio by as much as 661%. Do you want to know the secret? All right, here's the spoiler. It has to do with buying just a little bit of crypto. Hang on. Look at this chart. The first column shows what happened to $10,000 that was split 50-50 between stocks and bonds over a 3-year period. It grew to $12,219. The middle column was more aggressive. This shows if you put 65% in stocks, 25% in bonds, and 10% in Bitcoin. Quite a difference. Here, your $10,000 grew to $42,000. But look at the last column. Here, instead of 10% in Bitcoin, if you had simply diversified between the 3 cryptos, that same $10,000 would have grown to $93,000. That's 37 times more than investing in just stocks and bonds alone. And overall, that small 10% allocation was enough to boost your total portfolio by 661%. So for example, if you had $50,000, by making the small change to your portfolio, it would have ballooned to $380,000. What would you do with that extra cash? And maybe you're not interested in crypto. If not, I get it. I mean, even the smartest investors in the world have been confused about it at one point. Buffett himself calls Bitcoin rat poison squared. And yet today, he's one of the biggest blockchain investors on the planet. Here's the thing. Whether or not you join in, cryptocurrencies are going mainstream. I want you to understand this. On January 1st, a new law in Germany finally allowed banks to store and sell cryptocurrencies. And in a stunning report just released, Deutsche Bank said cryptocurrencies could replace fiat currency, that's paper money, by 2030 because the current system looks too fragile. Now, I'm not talking about some fringe, out-of-his-mind crypto fanatic on YouTube. This comes straight from Deutsche Bank. Even Jerome Powell has now told Congress the Federal Reserve is investigating whether or not they should issue their own crypto. And many big investors who once swore off or ignored cryptos have now changed their outlook. JP Morgan's CEO, for example, once called Bitcoin a fraud. The firm has since become a very large buyer of Bitcoin. Dan Schulman, PayPal's CEO, once called Bitcoin unsuitable. He's now a Bitcoin holder. David Swenson, the investment genius who grew Yale's endowment trust from $1 billion to $29 billion, earmarked $300 million for crypto. In fact, according to one report, institutional investment has gone up 952% over the last 22 months. And these guys are investing between 200 and 400 million a week in crypto. So this is it. If you've ever considered buying cryptos, even just a small stake, please read my manifesto. Because this May, a major event is set to take place in the crypto world. Something that only happens once every 4 years and is mathematically 100% guaranteed to happen. Now, I realize that may sound hard to believe, but it's actually a line of code, line 1577, hard-coded into Bitcoin's blockchain. And it will greatly reduce, by half, the number of coins available. In fact, the last time this event occurred 4 years ago, I issued a small string of recommendations and they all went up big. One went up by 7,691%, another by 11,318%, 14,269%, 15,811%, and the last by 151,323%. That was before these big institutions with their billions were all rushing to get in. But please, understand, I'm not here to twist your arm. What I want you to do is at least take a look at the research I've put together in my Davos manifesto, and then make your own decision. In the manifesto, I've listed my 4 top cryptocurrencies to get into right now. I'm placing a strong buy call on all of these. They each have the potential to 10x within the 12 months. 2 of these, for example, are already playing an important role in the big changes happening in finance. You can get all my research, including the Davos Manifesto, my special report on the 3 best blockchain stocks, as well as my 3 best speculations for free. All you need to do is try out the Palm Beach letter. Alright, here's how to start. In a minute, a button will appear below this video. Once you click it, you'll be able to secure your subscription. As a member, you'll get 12 months of my best investment ideas on the first Thursday of each month. You'll get a brand new issue of the Palm Beach letter. I don't limit myself to blockchain. In the past, I've covered safe income stocks, alternative investments, as well as how to play rising trends like legal marijuana and sports betting. Full support. Our specialists are located in Delray Beach, Florida. Please feel free to call or email them for any help you need with your subscription. Access to our one-of-a-kind model. Since 2011, the Palm Beach Letter's model portfolio has performed second to none, averaging 89% per year. And since I took over the reins in 2016, we've done even better. We've averaged 154% a year. That's not a typo. 154% a year. That's 10 times better than the S&P at record highs. As a member, you'll see all our current picks, including 3 untouchable stocks that were essentially immune to the crash of 2008 and have since trounced the stock market. If you're antsy about which way the market's heading, I strongly recommend you look at those 3 right away. You'll also get full 24/7 access to our members-only website. With your special password, which I'll send you in a minute, you'll be able to unlock our full archive of investment reports, including 2 reports I'm especially fond of. The first is private investing. According to the National Bureau of Economic Research, the average venture capital firm multiplies their money 70 times over a decade. That's 339 times better than the average stock investor. In this report, you'll discover what I call a secret backdoor we found that lets you get into the private markets, no matter what your income or net worth is. And you can even use them inside your IRA. We also just released a fascinating report on what I call fractional shares. This is a brand new way to buy tiny stakes in assets traditionally reserved for the rich. Think classic cars and rare art. Imagine, for example, owning a small part of a Picasso or a Rolls Royce. Now you can. Of course, these reports are on top of the research I already promised you earlier. My special report on the 3 best blockchain stocks, the 3 best speculations that could turn $1,000 into $1.6 million, and the Davos Manifesto. There's also one extra benefit. I'll also add you to my exclusive proprietary alert send list. As soon as I hear about any important change that could affect one of my recommendations, you'll be the first to know. So what does this all cost? As you can imagine, if we sold this full package on its own, you'd probably be looking at somewhere over $500. And that would be a steal. In fact, when I ran my hedge fund, for every $1 million they had invested with me, my clients paid $20,000 in fees each year, in addition to the 20% of profits I generated for them. But here's the great news. Because our research costs are divided among thousands of paying subscribers, the normal price for the Palm Beach letter is only $199. That's per year, not per month. When you consider that many Palm Beach letter readers have become millionaires by following just one of my recommendations, I think you'll agree $199 is a fair price. And if you decide not to join today and go back to our website later on, that's the price you'll see, and that's the price you'll have to pay. However, because you watched this full presentation, and I know you're serious about this opportunity, I want to do everything I can so price is not an issue, and price does not get in the way of you making a fortune. So here's what I did. I sat down with my publisher, and we agreed to authorize for you and any other new member who decides to sign up today an exclusive one-time discount. So today, you have the opportunity to try out the full Palm Beach letter for only $49. Just click the button below this video that says, Tika, I'm in, to take advantage. Now, as you know, $49 doesn't get you very far these days. It's probably just enough to take your significant other out to a movie. So I'm not sure how long this special offer will last. But there's also another important reason I wanted to make sure you don't delay on this. And that's because we only have a very short amount of time, maybe days, before the blockchain plays I've found break loose. You see, 2020 is going to be the banner year for blockchain. We've already seen how Germany green-lighted cryptocurrencies for major banks, and how the DTCC just put $10 trillion onto the blockchain. But several key events will take place in 2020 that will catapult blockchain very quickly. The first is Facebook. As you've likely heard, they're launching Libra, their brand new blockchain-based currency, very soon. Next is Morningstar. That's the company that ranks all the mutual funds. They will soon start ranking blockchain investments, bringing bank-level credibility to the space. Forbes says it could unlock billions. And perhaps the biggest event of all of this, Ethereum, the blockchain used by most of corporate America, including JP Morgan, who built an extensive platform based on Ethereum, is set to release its version 2.0. Scheduled to happen any day now. This is huge. And already venture capital investment in blockchain is starting to go vertical. Now is the time to invest, before these catalysts shift the blockchain revolution from low to high gear. Alright, it's time for me to go. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. More importantly, I hope you will take action. I believe blockchain will help usher in a brand new class of millionaires, and I want you to be one of them, just like my other readers. The best way to accomplish that is by trying out the Palm Beach letter. That way you'll be able to see for yourself why we've been able to beat the broad market by a factor of 10 to 1. And why Palm Beach letter readers have had the chance to beat the pants off the average investor more than 81 times over. Remember, there's a button below this video that says Tika I'm in. I encourage you to click on it right now. You'll be taken to a secure page that will let you lock in today's special discount of $150. I recommend you take this $150 and invest it in blockchain. Also, please rest assured, you risk nothing by acting today. That's because we've put in place an unconditional 100% money-back guarantee. Simply put, you have the next 60 days to review everything at your own leisure. Look at my research. Question everything. If you don't like a single thing you see, no worries. Contact my Florida support team and they'll immediately return every penny you paid. No ifs, ands, or buts. That is my promise to you. So what do you say? Now maybe you're already set for life and have more money than you know what to do with. If so, that's great and I'm happy for you. But if not, and if you want to try something different, why not finally profit from the top investment of the decade? I've done all the legwork, and getting this one decision right can wipe away years of bad investments. As Earl Nightingale once said, one idea can change your life. Most people you see are blind when it comes to new opportunities. You have to look beyond the surface facts and be willing to see things others can't or won't. This is your chance to get in on the $8.6 trillion blockchain revolution. You've seen the facts. My readers made millions off the first move. Now it's about to take off for a second time. Richard Branson has invested a reported $30 million in blockchain. Bill Gates, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, they're all involved. And now we've seen Buffett's billion-dollar bet. Where will you be 10 years from now? I've toiled away for 4 years, traveling the equivalent of 12 times around the earth to meet with the best minds in the blockchain space, just to boil it down to the absolute best plays. The 3 best stocks, the 3 best speculations, and 4 best cryptocurrencies in this decade of blockchain. take the time and at least look at my research. Take Palm Beach letter for a test spin. And if it's not for you, no biggie. All you lose is 30 seconds to place your order. Either way, it's your choice, and I fully respect your decision. All right, that's it. I want to sincerely thank you for taking the time to listen to my message. I'm not sure how long this video will stay up, so if you found it to be of any value, I give you permission to share it with your friends or anyone you care about. Friends, we're extremely fortunate to be alive today. We're living in a remarkable time, the richest era in history. I hope you go out there and claim your fair share. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I want you to always remember, let the game come to you.
So from that $10,000, it had gone up to $330,000, and we were just amazed that it had gone up that much.
How can you ever say thank you to someone for literally changing your life that much?
I've been very pleased with the comprehensive approach to wealth building that it offers. It's a lot more than just a simple stock picking newsletter.
I'm a first-time investor and can't tell you how sweet this ride has been. Your plays have grown my savings from $20,000 to $135,000 in just 3 months. Retirement was a huge worry, and I did not believe it would be possible. However, with gains like this, I'm confident it will. I can't thank you enough.